As you watch this video, not one, but many children are being abandoned by their narcissistic parents right now. This disastrous form of discard has been happening for decades, and this inhumane reality is on the rise. From the time a child is born, forming a healthy attachment to one's parent by being held, consoled during times of distress, and communicated with during infancy, and into one's childhood years, is extremely important. However, abandonment causes a person to struggle with the formation of healthy relationships and the development of positive self-esteem. It gives deeper emotional messages to the survivors, drilling in feelings about worthlessness, unworthiness, unimportance, having no value, being bad, being stupid, and being invisible. It eliminates and destroys any self-esteem the survivor could develop. It creates a deep-seated anger, an ongoing emptiness, and a constant sense of isolation. It scars the heart and pierces the soul. It has all the ingredients needed to create dissociation and create alters. As you already know, Satanists are narcissists, and that's what they purposely do to create alters. For how long has abandonment by narcissistic parents been happening? For as long as awareness about adverse childhood adverse experiences, ACEs, has been affecting children. Meanwhile, health organizations prefer to treat symptoms instead of dealing with what caused them.
Sharing of biased and
false news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets simply aren't true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think, and this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
It is as, for example, 98% of children who drink water from a well have been prescribed antibiotics to treat diarrhea. Wait a minute. Isn't it more logical to check the water in the well instead of treating the symptoms associated with it?
Nothing to see here, please!
And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
Victims of abandonment trauma can have emotional flashbacks that flood us with feelings ranging from mild anxiety to intense panic in response to triggers that we may or may not be conscious of. Once our abandonment fear is triggered, it can lead to emotional hijacking. During an emotional hijacking, victims feel a complete loss of control over their own lives, at least momentarily. If emotional hijacking occurs frequently enough, its chronic emotional excesses can lead to self-depreciation and isolation within relationships, as well as give rise to secondary conditions such as chronic depression, anxiety, obsessive thinking, and even suicide. Complex post-traumatic stress disorder is a so-called disease of the amygdala, the emotional center of the brain responsible for initiating the fight-flee response. In complex post-traumatic stress disorder, the amygdala is set on overdrive to keep us in a perpetual state of hypervigilance, action-ready to declare a state of emergency should it perceive any threat, even vaguely reminiscent of the original trauma. People with CPTSD or abandonment have heightened emotional responses to abandonment triggers that are often considered insignificant by others. For instance, depending on circumstances, when we feel slighted, criticized, or excluded, it can instigate an emotional hijacking and interfere in, and even jeopardize, our personal or professional life.
You will. You know love. You see this? All this shit. It's not your fault. Look at me, son. It's not your fault. You know. It's not your fault. I know. No. It's not your fault. I know. It's not your fault. Right. It's not your fault.
Abandonment is painful, but it is still possible to build positive and healthy relationships with other people. It will take consistent work on your part to overcome the negative, damaging programming given to you by narcissistic parents. But you can do it, and I pray for you to successfully do it. If you're listening to this video and feel this channel has helped you with truthful information, please help me to keep on producing videos with your contribution by clicking on the PayPal or the Patreon link available in the description below. God bless you. Please remember, truth is freedom.